Hi, I'm Jeff Waters, team captain of Jackpot, and this is the RoboCast.
Hello, everyone. My name is Steve the American Killjoy, and welcome back to the RoboCast with myself, World of Woodrow, and David of Smeg. Guys, welcome back. It's me. I'm not a Sam this time.
It was really weird when you introduced it because I was like expecting you to introduce Steve the American Killjoy, and then there you were already there.
I know it's very strange. In any case,
everybody's Steve. It turns out this whole time,
and I'm also
always
Steve
has
the
been
American Killjoy.
Yeah.
Well, we're here to review the 4th episode of Champions 2, and along the ride with us is Jeff Waters of Jackpot. Jeff, welcome back. I forgot we had you on this year. I thought it was a longer period of time, but this is
Fake
the whole
fan.
it's like time dilation. You know, it's like I have this weird thing where the fact that this was filmed over a year ago and then Discovery sat on it for reasons. And then, now we're finally here. But Jeff, welcome back.
Yeah, it's been, I think the last time we were together was March of this year, so it's been about 8 months.
Where's the year gone?
I'd hate it.
I know, right?
It's gone down the toilet, I think.
It's November in 2 days. What the heck?
Well, the thing
It's
is,
so weird that
Yeah.
we've now crossed the point where, like, this was filmed.
Yeah. At this point, we had
Over a
all
year
left the
ago.
Ave. You guys were still there.
This was penultimate night.
This
I was going to say,
final night, actually.
I was
This
going to say,
final night.
this
Final
was the last night in the Airbnb.
This was the final night, so this would have been the night that we would have had all of the fights for Golden Bolt finals.
Crazy.
1 year ago today. Yeah, it's crazy. Which means like when it aired on Thursday was actually almost 1 year to the date of the fight. We can talk about that in a little bit. And,
Yeah.
that you guys get on with this.
Yeah, perfectly planned. So yeah, we have an episode of a bunch of 1 and 3 bots that didn't quite make the tournament, and then a couple of early exits this time around. We have early exits being Lucky and Cobalt, really surprise exits on how good of seasons both of those bots had. You have Emulsifier that might have been snubbed for a low seed in the season, maybe had they been maybe more consistent with their fights, or maybe gotten a little bit more lucky. No pun intended.
Who else did we have, Steve? Who else dropped out in that is with us tonight?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The witch doctor gave us a little beat up.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't turn out quite so well in the tournament for Jackpot, and we'll talk about that, I guess, once we get there. Maybe we can talk about when that happened. And how quick the turnaround was for your fight coming up. And then we have a rookie that had, you say a rookie that had a rough go. I mean, there's experience on the Banshee team, but with that connection with Malice, and they didn't have such a great year. It is one of the Davids. It's one of the many Davids.
Yeah, me and David Small are really close friends, and we're doing a lot of together. And honestly, the stuff that we've done post this episode with Banshee has been remarkable.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm very excited to see.
There's a Destructathon fight that is definitely worth your while.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'm very excited for everyone to hopefully see that at some point. I know supporters have a sneak peek. If you're not a supporter already,
that fight
David
is
Small
actually out.
Yeah,
right?
David Small has uploaded it on the Team Small Robotics YouTube channel, and you can watch it fight a what was it? What was he fighting that day? It was a
maximum paralysis.
Oh yeah, yes.
Which was a I guess a nice way
RA2
to put it, like
bots.
blip at home.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think that's doing Blip a disservice. I can't lie. No offense to the team, but that thing is a box with a stick.
Yeah,
it's a box with a stick, and it was technically a flywheel flipper, but it was like a flywheel flipper with 2005 technology.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it lived up to its name of maximum paralysis. Unfortunately, but hopefully they come back with an improved version. It's very ambitious for a weapon design, but I'm sure there's plenty of R&D that can be done to get that fixed. And then we have what was it, Big Dill and Overhaul, 2 bots that have been around the block, one more than the other, and they didn't have such a great season. Big Dill being a fill-in, was a bot that wasn't even supposed to fight this year.
Big Dill had a pretty good season, all things considered.
Yeah,
had lots of good fights, just not a win record to reflect it.
Yeah, and there's a fight in this episode.
Yeah, that Big Dill versus Mad Catter fight was still a really good fight.
Yeah.
Like, now that Dill has a little bit, like, it's not a lot of blade. It's like 12 pounds, but it still hits really hard.
Yeah, it's got that tooth profile. It's just, it's done in such a way where, and we've talked about it before with Terratops. It's this design where the blade's on the robot and the forks are separated from it, where it's different from Whiplash, where they have that weapon that can kind of lift but also cut. It's kind of separates
to hit underneath, pretty much.
Exactly, yeah, because most often there's a lot of very softer the underbellies of the bots tend to be softer, at least historically. I'm sure that's been changing
after last week.
This is true. Yeah. This is true. So we have our roster robots. Before we get too deep into the episode, we do have a couple questions from the cloud of people that we have at our disposal, and thank you all for your questions that you submitted. But for the first one, for you, Jeff, little of a big, like a very much a macro question. Aiden Muted on Discord asks, what made you go to BattleBots initially, and which team, current or former, inspired you to get into this crazy hobby?
So let's see. I saw BattleBots in 1999 in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I was 5 years old. After that, my dad and I tried to build we wanted to build this middleweight wedge. It was he stole some diamond plate from work, and we had this wheelchair motor, and it never really made it past let's do this. So it kind of happened to us. So around then, I always kind of followed the bots here and there. Then 2010, I ended up getting back into it. Then I didn't realize that there were smaller weight classes until 2010. So I was I took these little Walgreens rope things and put cardboard and stuff on it. It's I never did anything with it. I didn't know there was events within a driving distance and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I did Vex and First a little bit in high school, but we were very underfunded, and when it comes senior year, it was just me. The Vex team was just me, so I did the driving, the building, and the design for the entire team.
Yeah, that's a pretty heavy. That's a pretty heavy responsibility for just one person.
We did I really want to reach out to my teacher at the time, see if she still has it. So there's I won regionals by myself.
Oh my god, that's an outrageous accomplishment. Haven't been through the first deal through high school.
Yeah, you can see it back there. The 1449.
Yeah,
was my team.
That's cool. So I was 516 and 506, one of the two. I bounced between both of those teams during my time in school.
David are just going to nod.
Well, First has international outreach. It's just, it's more of a U.S. thing.
We were not involved.
It's international in the same way NFL is international.
Exactly.
Yeah, they sometimes visit.
Yeah.
And make a big thing of it.
Yeah. Isn't your team the Jacksonville Jaguars, basically? Because they've been there twice. They were there 2 straight weeks.
Who are you talking to here? Is this an NFL thing? I don't know.
It's possible. I could just be shouting nonsense.
They may have been there, but we're in deepest, darkest Norfolk. Nothing appears around here.
I'm a good fan of cricket.
There you go.
We're picking up so many sports teams. You're I'm not.
I know
you're
just getting, and you're going to end up dumped with a baseball team shortly. Now you have 3.
It's good. I'm not a big sports guy, but I like building their stadiums because it makes me money. So
absolutely,
that's a very good thing. Now
there's a lot of. I was actually when the Raiders came here. I was at that job for 2 years.
Yeah,
it was a good paying, steady, plumbing job because there's a lot of plumbing systems in those arenas. Because you've seen the bathrooms in stadiums.
People do be needing to shit.
Yeah, absolutely,
they do.
And that's a job that's never going away. But anyway.
So I did Vex and First was only my freshman year. That's when the team everyone that was when I was a freshman, they were all seniors. So after that, it was kind of like me and whoever I could convince to come to the club that day. So I built this little pot bot or whatever it was. It was like a little two servos and like a gear shaft or like a drive shaft from like an RC10L, like old like RC pan car, and like a brushless inrunner attached to it, and it never did anything. And I didn't really do anything since then until 2017. 2018. And I built Wumbo. Wumbo was my first beetle weight to ever made it to a competition, and it's still here.
It's still Wumboing.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. It's even inspiring 3D printer pen builds at NHRL.
Yeah,
to this very day.
Yeah, so Wumbo was my first beetle weight in 2017, 2018. It didn't do well. It still kind of doesn't do well.
But it's good fun.
It's got heart.
It's fun.
Its heart is in the right place.
Yeah, it's a super fun robot, and when it wins, it wins. When it doesn't very well. Anyway, so I did that for 2 years, and I was at Texas. The Texas Bot Brawl event in like early 20. Actually, it might have been late 2019. So I flew out there with David Small and David Rush, and we stayed at Airbnb. We did the event. Then David Lau took us to. We went and got tacos after the event, and
like you do.
He started talking. He's like, "Hey, me and Rush have been talking. And would you and David Small want to be on Malice, our robot?" And Malice looked more like Orbi at this time.
Okay.
It looked nothing like it looks now. They wanted me to initially like, "Hey, I know you do a lot of CAD. Would you want to design Malice?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like heavyweights are like a whole new scale for me. I've only built a Beetle and a 130-pounder. Well, Sloth. The eyes are back there. The two big blue eyes. That was my first robot that wasn't small." So we go from talking about the Malice. So like I suggested Isaac Maylers, which ended up being the person that designed Malice, and I was on Malice up until when did we film 2020?
It was about August, September time. I want to say.
I think it was early October from memory.
Early October.
It was, yeah, because it kept getting next week.
Yeah, so it's early October. So let's say, I don't remember the timeline exactly, but let's say 2020, I was down in California working on Malice, and I think it was like Jonathan LaPlane and Bunny and all of them bullied me into building a heavyweight because they needed teams. Because I was like, oh, I kind of want to build something. And they're like, oh, I was poking around for a bit at like ideas like leading up to that weekend, and then they kind of just said, "Well, do it, just do it."
And that was how the low budget, quick turnaround robot became stuck in everyone's hearts.
This was 6 weeks before filming.
Yeah,
before we filmed, and the robot didn't even have a name or a design. It's something.
I don't remember the name.
That was actually the second name.
The first
name. One was
we've made many jokes about this. Many jokes.
I had a robot called Off Track, right? It was a tracked drum spinner. And I was like, okay, let's make this into a heavyweight. That'd be a really cool heavyweight. We can do the military theme. We can have like 2 cannon self-riders and all that. It'd be really cool. And the more we're looking at it, and we're like, man, this is kind of boring. So I had access to the Malice CAD because I was still on Malice, and I took Malice's blade and put it on the vertical. It was like, oh shit, that's badass.
Absolutely.
So we got this big 22. That's why the blade's 22 inches, because it's the same size as Malice's blade. So we put that in there. It's like, oh man, can we make that work? That's a big vertical spinner. And we did that. So Jackpot was the first name for it, but Robert was kind of the one that was kind of like, I had some money into it, but he had the most money into it. So he kind of had the whole like whatever. Like he's like, well, I don't know if we can do the Vegas thing. It's kind of weird because he wasn't like from Vegas like I was. So he's like, yeah, it's kind of weird all that. And they're like, would they really want like a gambling team and all that? So they're like, well, I have all these like masks for LARPing and stuff like that. We could do Sabretooth. And I wasn't even thinking of like other robots or anything. He just suggests the name Sabretooth. He's like, oh, that's a cool name, and we can make it. He can get yellow with stripes like a saber-toothed tiger. And little did we know, things happen. There's
a certain Gabriel Stroud across the pond that like,
No, that's
just
one
happened to be there for season 5 as well. It's just
it was a very awkward for a time. So I don't remember like sleeping for like this first 4 days because it was like Sabretooth, Jackpot, Sabretooth, redesign, full redesign. Then
they're just invading your dreams. Just Jackpot and Sabretooth.
I talked to Gabe at so this is like, I don't know, it was like 10 a.m. for you guys, so it was like 2 a.m. for me when we were talking, and we did the whole no hard feelings. Like, I think he felt offended because I didn't know who Sabretooth was.
We won't hold it against you.
Oh, brilliant!
Wow.
The running joke we have is that Gabe and his lawyers came at you in full force.
You're like, you better change it. Or
that's what he was.
I'll be sending the boys round.
Because he actually wanted to use it for the following season because it would have been 5 years.
I think I can't remember. I think it got accepted, but then travel stopped it. Basically,
well, the other thing that happened is Greg didn't even know Sabretooth was a taken name.
Greg didn't know what NHRL was though. So
because we suggested Jackpot or Sabretooth, and he's like, "Well, I like Sabretooth. That's a cool name."
Yeah.
So we went with that branding. Then the whole Greg talking and all that. Then
honestly, I think Jackpot is a better theming.
It's so much better.
And now that the show's in Vegas, it almost fits perfectly.
It's the poster child now of BattleBots. This is what's happened.
In a strange way.
I mean, it lives at Destructathon right now. Like, it's got its own little pit area and stuff like that. Because not to get too deep, but Wednesdays, Thursdays, I drive for the live show.
Yes.
So and my wife does all the wardrobe for the live show.
Wow, that's awesome.
So when she's there being paid, I was like, I'm unemployed right now, so I'll just jump in the car with her, and I'll be there all morning until I need to drive. So in the morning, I'll either be working on Ruler or Jackpot or something in the proving ground pits.
Yes.
Because it's a space that's already dedicated to bots and stuff like that, and I just kind of get out of the way when the teams show up.
Yeah. That's very cool. And also, before we started recording here, and then we'll move on to the next question because I know this one's taken up a bit. But in any case, to feed off of that, Destructathon's season, relatively speaking, has come to an end, and you guys are taking a break. How was the season so far, and what do you guys look to improve in the future?
So it started early February. I remember I got the call from Greg. I was at Norwalk in January, and Greg called me saying, "Hey, we need help.
Yeah, we need warm bodies in the building.
Yeah, we need people now."
Yeah,
it's like, well, I can come down and whatever, and it was me and Brad and David Rush that came down there in the first few nights when they were doing the first few setup weeks, and they were looking for drivers at the time. They didn't think oh, these guys can drive or whatever. There's more like we just needed people that know how to robot.
Yeah.
And for that first few weeks, we had a who's who of robot people down there. Donald was down there almost every day. Bunny was down there almost every day. If anyone that was tied to a robot that was there in their first few weeks was there because they made it, so they knew what they were doing. Then now we're at the point where it's honestly, the bot crews and stuff that we have here that came in not knowing anything about bots, they'll probably know more about those bots than the builders do now. Because we, fight them every night. But that's kind of over the past, I guess it was 9 months now, 155 shows.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible. It's from leading off at the beginning of this question, it was you just kind of getting into BattleBots and getting started, and now being somebody who really helps keep it going all year long.
Yeah.
You know,
that's honestly my favorite thing is do I have some of these teams that will come in for proving grounds, and some of them know what they're doing more than others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of interesting to go, like, you see this messy hair dude, missing teeth, coming up to you, just like, oh, I know how to do this. They're like, yeah, sure you do, whatever. And you just like, you go over there, like, there's some teams that are like super receptive to it, and the other teams are like, no, we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And some of them don't know what they're doing when they say that.
Some people have to fail on their own, or sometimes you're not going to be receptive of help until something happens.
Yeah, a good example of that is like, oh, I know Roundhouse knows what they're doing because I'm very familiar with Dan and all them, and I don't need to go help them. So I went to go over to go help Orbitron because they kept blowing up their vests, and they weren't really super receptive to a new guy coming in and saying, hey, you should try this, this, and this, and drop the AI, get your robot working really good first, then add the AI once it's consistent. Make it work. And they weren't super receptive of it. So I went over to Roundhouse and I tuned their vest skin to kick their ass.
And that's how you learn in the box, I guess.
Exactly. You learn in the box.
Yeah, you learn more than in the pits sometimes. But yeah, but that's cool. I hope it keeps going, because it seems like something that's really, it's become a mainstay on that strip.
We
area,
will be back in December.
Yeah, it's always exciting to see, a live show, because that's the one thing that we really have been missing over here is, I mean, we do have Norwalk, which is a huge deal, but they don't fight heavies. So with you guys overseas, Jevin and David, you have Extreme Robots, you have Robots Live, you have places that, I mean, they travel around the country, and they go. Do. It's a little different, but like we didn't have that here really for the longest time. We had,
Ruckus.
Yeah, we have Ruckus. Yeah, but they don't do full spin up. And then we had Robo Games, which it's that just came back, and it's gonna find its footing again. But it's it's nice to have something that people can go to and experience this when it's off the air, especially for the amount of time it's been off the air. It's nice to have it in the public consciousness so that like Discovery doesn't say, hey, so how many eyes we got on this now? Do we need to move on? That's always been my worry. I feel like we're living on borrowed time sometimes. I feel like it's been very successful. Now I just I always want to feel like we're on borrowed time so that like we don't lose that fire under us. A
lot of us have felt like there was a lot of talk going into the most recent season of BattleBots of like. Mm-hmm. This could be it. I mean, hell, that was part of the reason why we went over and saw it, because we were like, this could be our last opportunity.
Either now or never. We missed out on Robot Wars, so we're not about BattleBots.
Seeing the sellout audiences and then seeing Destructathon rise up and seeing the amount of love and passion for BattleBots, give them like a second wind, and I'm like, no, this thing's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
This train will continue for a good while.
It'll continue as long as Trey keeps wanting to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. It's Trey's. This is Trey's hobby.
Yeah, it's his baby.
As long as he keeps enjoying his hobby, it will keep going on forever.
Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be hard to shake him of his hobby that he's had for quite some time now. All right. So.
On to the next question.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jevin, move on to the next question, please.
It's from Ivan Roy on Facebook, and he asks, in preparation for the Slugfest, was there anything left salvageable from the previous Jackpot that got destroyed by Witch Doctor, or was it a complete rebuild?
So I would say it was a 99% rebuild. Yeah. Like, there was some stuff that came up. The wiring harness was 100% fine.
Ow.
So we took the harness out. Immediately dropped it to a new frame. I believe the faceplates were still happy, so we put those faceplates back on. The new one, the titanium end caps that go retain the weapon were fine. The weapon shaft was fine, and the rest was all kind of dog wash.
I don't know. I think there's a little pessimism there, Jeff. I think it's a little bit less than 99% of the robot that was 10. But unless there's all really tiny pieces. I don't know.
Well, you could have scraped some of that glitter off the floor.
There you go.
Yeah, we had
throw it back at the robot.
I think we ended up reusing all of the wheels because the wheels were fine. Those fair lanes are pretty robust. Then, believe it or not, all electrically, the robot was 100% fine.
Yeah, it just was mushed.
I was kind of over exaggerating when I said 99%. I would say anything metal was thrown away.
Damn my physical form. It has failed me again where my mind could have excelled.
It's all good.
It's the ship of Cassius or whatever it is.
So basically, the ship of Theseus. Yeah. So basically, Jackpot with a vapor chassis was fine.
Yeah.
you know.
So
essence of Jackpot.
We lost all the batteries on the one side where it got hit.
Yeah.
I think some of the cells were fine, but so we run this weird system where we have 96 individual cells inside a Jackpot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice because only pack A2 got damaged.
Mm-hmm.
A1 and A3 are fine. Let's remove that one pack, put a new one in.
It's good to have some redundancy in your design to make it easier to
so cheap too.
Service.
It's like when you buy in bulk, it's super cheap. So when you're buying 100 drone racing batteries, they typically give you the wholesale discount because they think you're a supplier.
Yes. Little do they know.
Jokes on them.
Little do they know I'm supplying myself.
Yep.
I am my own supplier.
It's all good.
So the diamonds were dead. We had no diamonds left, and we had no cores left. So that's why we went with the mono. The mono was kind of so the 22-inch mono Blackheart was kind of an afterthought weapon. It's like, well, if we're doing the 20-inch hearts for the horizontal configuration, let's make one that is the length of the normal blade just to have. And that ended up being our favorite weapon. Yeah. We're still running that weapon.
You got that reach, and it's the concentrated, power.
It's so hard. It's stupid. And it's asymmetrical. It's 3 inches of bite against this already in a night.
Yeah, absolutely, bleeding heart. But yeah, that's a huge advantage to have a really heavy weapon with with just having that extra 2 inches from the other weapon you had, just having that extra bite and having that extra energy transfers, it could make a difference.
Yeah, so it's from the time that we got obliterated by Witch Doctor till when we fought Big Dill was about 24 hours. Mm-hmm. The bot is super modular, so even by myself, after when we fought Bloodsport, it was just me because all my team went back to where they live. So between Bloodsport and the next day, I had the Jackpot back together within 3 hours by myself because everything just kind of comes out and goes into the new one.
Mm-hmm. As long as you got a good pit crew, really. Yeah. As long as you got a good pit crew, they know what they're doing. You can get that thing. Back up and running in no time, but it looked in a very sorry state at the end of that fight, and we'll get to that. Maybe. I mean, we've seen
I think we talked about that in March. I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, my brain is just awful. But yeah, we have one more question.
There's been time.
Yeah,
we've got a question from Zach Attack on Twitter, X, whatever we want to call it these days.
X.
Yeah.
Bezos's money bank.
Indeed. How was Ace born, and how does it totally change the game for Jackpot over time?
So Ace game got its life started as Needle, and I might be misremembering some of the facts or whatever, but basically I'll tell the story of how Jason designed Ace. Mm-hmm. Or Needle at the time. Mm-hmm. So originally those forks that are on Needle were going to be on the front of Tracer. Then it was just an issue of mounting it to 1-inch thick AR 500 on the front of Tracer because Tracer's a freaking tank in the front. So then he's like, oh, I can't have it be. So there's a big old shaft that goes all the way down Tracer. It's the weapon shaft and the armor shaft.
Oh, okay.
So all the armor is on a pivot. So when it gets hit, it just goes in, then comes back out. There's a bunch of rubber behind it. So it was just designed to take impacts in the front, no problem, and just shrug them off. So they're like, well, I can't do that. And the thing, well, what if I put it on a second robot? And I mean, it worked. It got a grab on P1.
Yeah, it did. It definitely did.
Yeah, it grabbed P1 and it removed the side of P1. So it did what it needed to do. Then he was kind of whatever. and Jason was going to be on Malice in season 6, but Bunny's like, well, you're a good asset. Yeah, I think Jackpot could use you better. Then we started talking with them more and began this whole thing of like, well, now like me and Jason are like inseparable when it comes to like combat stuff. Like we're always back and forth talking about ideas for like changing the what can counter the current meta.
Mhm.
And we still think that is Ace. Ace is, I think, going to be what is going to force people to make weird force people to make decisions on things that they wouldn't normally have to make.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like say Greg, if you're listening, we fight Hydra in season 8.
Mhm.
In whatever. Hydra always has, floor scene problems, and it always has a problem driving forward. So what if it also had a problem driving backwards?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it would be
Hydra when then to solve that issue.
I really like the idea that. So for the longest time, mini bots have been a nuisance, but not a hindrance. I
Right.
would say.
Yes.
Just
a way to just somewhere to put weight. If you had extra weight on your robot, you didn't want to put it on your machine. Oh, let's give it to the kids and have them drop a bot to drive in the box.
And then there's Ace, who comes along and is just like, and
so we have seen some D2 kits or modded D2 kits push heavies.
Yes,
let's not forget that
they have to have weapons now, I believe.
This is true. Yes,
so
like Gassy has a
flamethrower. Pushing for that. I think. So the thing that really hurt a lot of that is when they made the switch to you can't have lithium in your robots, in your mini bots no more.
Right.
Which is good for us. We just kind of this like, oh, Ace is mostly air anyway.
Yeah, it's already a brick. What's a couple more pounds?
So it I think Ace coming along really changes the game, because now you're gonna have the heavyweight going after the mini bot so that it doesn't get hung up, so the heavyweight can attack. But while it's doing that, the heavyweight's attacking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really upset the game of.
You can really see that in effect once we get into the episode with the final fight of like you have to choose who you are focusing, and if you focus the wrong one, who's scarier, the big vertical or the thing that's going to stop you until you can get hit by the big vertical. Yeah. And I feel like the Ace is good at it's a hard counter for anything that's not a horizontal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we really could tie the next two questions quickly together since we're already talking about Ace, and we could go through this quickly. Rob Weston, a friend of the podcast on Discord, asked, love our Rob, do you see mini bots like Ace becoming the meta in future seasons? And in like a two-parter question, it's similar. My girlfriend doesn't like robots on Twitter, friend of the podcast as well. Do you think that a heavyweight Supreme Ruler Ace Needle would ever even be realistically doable at the BattleBots level? That's just an interesting question. So
one exists.
Meta breaker.
Yeah, one domino exists.
Yes, this is true. So
Chris Sowry.
It's a very interesting topic. It's an active enough weapon, hopefully, for BattleBots, for a main bot. I guess that would be the question for Greg and Trey.
See, per the rule set, you have to be able to lift 250 pounds 12 inches into the air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in order to do it correctly, I would technically need to have foot wide forks.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's doable.
Or hydraulics. Just like,
it's
like a hoopty
it's
car
one
in
of
the
those
70s.
where it doesn't. I'm not sure it translates as well.
I think the way to do it, if I were to do it, is it would have to be a cam lifter hammer saw.
I like it.
I love it a lot.
Like because you don't need to get like saw blades and Scorpios have to get you into the corner of the arena, then the hammer down. But this one is like come up in the middle and just go whoop, and you're right there, and you're done. And you get full transfer because you're under them.
It's nice. It's just having the weight to get all of that involved with your robot, really, isn't it? That's where your issues are.
Well, yes and no, because remember, Ace is 15 pounds and can lift a heavyweight.
Yeah. I guess the trick is trying to make sure that you meet that height requirement for a lift. It's just
Yeah.
Which is what.
You'd need some long old prongs out the side, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then what is the first one was talking about other mini bots. Can you
Yeah,
comment,
other
correct?
duplicates.
Yeah.
Duplicates
This is
of
the
ace.
meta. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
mini
I've been
bots.
so we saw a little bit of that with Bloodsport was testing their mini bot, and I think this is going to start an arms race.
Yeah.
So there's an arms race going on. Like we had 3 pounds left over, so I'm like, hey, Derek, you're here. Do you want to drive Supreme Ruler? So we had Jackpot, Ace, and Supreme Ruler in there, and Supreme Ruler's only job was to stop their mini bot.
Just building smaller versions of it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You've got a
It's
stack of the damn things.
So
You're just gonna have a robot that just spits them all out. Like what was
Yeah.
it? Series
Yeah.
2 Chia Bot had like little mini bots that like spat out the back, a little flap door out the back, and just
The true
go
swarm.
across the arena. I don't know, man. You know that.
Yeah. So there was one kind of clone of Ace. They didn't quite understand the way it works, and that was a Screwjob with Donald Hudson.
Mm-hmm.
But for theirs was weird because it was these little like coils that came up in the back, and they would spin in and they would kind of pull you up.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a lot more effort than it's worth because you got this thing that needs to rotate at a certain speed, and it's way out there, and it's got a lot of cantilever on
I
it.
forgot that existed, and in my head I was just thinking, what if you had some sort of drill attachment robot that could keep them going up? And then,
it's already there.
It is, and it didn't work very well.
Yeah. I don't remember a Screwjob did a thing, but my favorite thing is like going in. I think it was in the Witch Doctor fight that they said Ace was based on Donald Hudson's Screwjob.
No.
Well, there you go. You heard it here first, I think.
Oops.
It was something like they're taking notes from Donald Hudson or something like that.
I don't know. What can you do?
Yeah.
It's
a TV show.
Your information's always as good as your source.
Exactly.
Do your research.
So, on as far as like seeing other minis, we've had them we've had really effective mini bots in the past, like War Stop and all that, and we didn't really see any like you need to run a mini bot until like this year.
Yeah, it's
like I think between this and the Norwalk culture, people are starting to realize like, oh, minis can really decide a fight.
And that's
especially Norwalk, who has a weight bonus for having a mini bot.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We got some
Slap a
shenanigans
gravedigger in
planned
there.
for 2 weeks.
It's been quite the proving ground itself. It's kind of been a way to kind of cultivate a mini bot, for a possible heavyweight companion. So that's very cool.
What the Bloodsport one was actually based on the mini bot for Caldera, I think, where it's just like a wedge with these 2 big old prongs coming out at the front of it. Not quite. It's more like a box with long forks on it just to get under things. But it didn't really have any active like things, and it had a flamethrower on it. It was neat.
Yeah, it's just for a good bit of fun. That's Norwalk at the end of the day, isn't it? Just a bit of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as like, I see a lot of people like thinking about it, but the problem is you're then taking away, almost 10% of your robot's weight away.
That's always the argument. Is like, are you going to put more weight into your main robot, or are you going to take it away just to have a tactical advantage, basically?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, a mini bot's just going to get punted away by just about any vert or horizontal out there. So.
Yeah. So you got to consider like most of these, the 250 pounds are optimized to the T for that weight. They can't find 15 pounds.
Yes.
20 pounds, 30 pounds, depending on what kind of mini bot they want to run. And with us in season 5, Jackpot was only like 219.
Yeah,
so it's like, we're adding weight.
It was a slim boy.
Like even like this weekend at Proving Grounds, Jackpot was 230. So like we keep optimizing it for weight, and it just keeps getting lighter. And then like, we made it too light again. We need to add more armor.
Bigger Ace.
Yeah, just bigger Ace. So it goes back to that conversation of like we just need just a bigger Ace.
They're stacking up.
So there's been a lot of evolution with the rotary lifter design with Ace. is a so it went Needle, Ace, Supreme Ruler V1, Ace V2, which we saw at this event. We had Ruler 3, 4. Then we took the ruler, like the things that we learned with ruler, and put it into Ace.
See, they are stacking up, Jevin. They literally are.
So this new Ace is actually has a lot of ruler DNA in it because ruler can take a hit. It's super it's tactically flaccid, as I like to say.
We're gonna just leave that there.
Excellent.
In any case, I feel like we got a good coverage on those. Let's get on to some fights before we start going down the rabbit hole even farther. Our first fight of the night sees Banshee against Cobalt. Is this a mismatch, or am I surprised at how well Banshee survived this fight?
It's all good.
Right.
Yeah.
Predictions wise, myself and David both predicted Cobalt.
Yes.
And I drew a little tombstone around Banshee saying RIP Banshee 2022 to 2022. And I ate my words fully because he didn't die.
Yeah, the beginning of this fight, it looked like it was going to die.
Oh, it was curtains, and then it wasn't. Then he got a flip, and we were like, okay, what?
I think it was about midway through we worked out, that's not Dave driving.
Right, that's the thing. You lead up to the beginning of this fight, the whole pre-fight. Well, you have David talking about how he's going to put UHNW on the front. Good luck with that against Cobalt. It seemed to have held up pretty well, but it's Cobalt. But yeah, Dave Moulds not at the sticks. John Mladnick getting stick time with Cobalt because this is going to be his bot. In the future, in the long run, because Dave and Sam are going off to be responsible family men.
They're parents again. Everybody's going off to be a bloody parent.
Yeah, John's been spending a lot of time coming out to Vegas and just putting it in the box and driving it.
Yeah, I bet. He's a
true
true student of the game.
Yeah, he doesn't come out and fight. He just comes out and puts it in the box and test drives and tunes things, and it's free box time. It's good. Cobalt's getting pretty good now again.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was always on the precipice of really having a good run. It just seems to stumble when it matters most, unfortunately.
But as far as Banshee, David Small is a fantastic driver.
Yeah, and we've seen that with him at Norwalk with Puka most recently. That thing is scarily driven. I mean, he's got the. He's clearly got a lot of stick time on smaller weight classes, and it finally started the transfer here to this fight. I feel like he definitely took advantage of the fact that John did not have as much time behind the sticks with Cobalt.
And they ran the little chisel forks all the way around.
Yeah,
and the floor was nowhere near even at that point.
Yeah, those floor split dual piano key looking forks that they have.
Yeah, he had full Hydra issues as Cobalt, and it was a struggle. It was a real struggle. He managed to get the hits he needed. He managed to get the drives he needed, but Banshee and David did awesome job keeping Cobalt at bay. Not many people do. Not many people. And he managed to hold them off for 3 minutes.
Yeah, which not a lot of bots can do.
Who says I went 3 minutes with Cobalt? You either die or you kill Cobalt.
Yeah. Like Minotaur did earlier this year, which was a knockout, draw out, one of the best fights I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Even more credit to David. He did this on 3 wheels. Because if he watches dragging around.
There's one that you see dragging around, but you can't see it dragging, but you can see what it leaves behind.
Yeah, definitely.
At the end of that fight, that wheel was cone shaped.
Yes.
Does not surprise me considering that. Fair play, sir.
Yeah. And we got a little, probably some of the best boys in the key grips probably a little bit annoyed in the crowds that we had a little bit of a light show, a little bit of a glass shower for Cobalt after roofing Banshee, and it's a scary piece of kit. I know it's changing hands. Yeah, it is, and I know it's changing hands, and maybe its preseason rank next year might drop because it won't be Dave and Sam there at the sticks, but. With what you've told us, Jeff, with John getting more stick time, I think we really could. We're gonna those jitters might start to die, with Cobalt not being a threat like it always seems to be.
But I think just Cobalt remains a threat.
Yes.
No matter what, the robot was built as a mean weapon. And
it proved that in China. I mean, Tungsten proved that.
Yeah,
that was scary.
They have now had 3 different drivers who have done exceptionally well with this robot, and I think that's a testament to the robot as much as the drivers, because it stands the test of any driver. It's like Copperhead.
Yes.
You change out the captaincy and the driving, and the robot still does well. In fact, it gets incrementally better.
Yeah, somehow, some way. Just got to change hands one more time, and it'll at least reach the final. That's the goal.
So
to go back to Banshee,
yes,
for that, David didn't disappoint himself, and hopefully this has done some good for Banshee making it back next year, and not being a one-off. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's.
I do think it's time we reveal the running joke with Banshee at recording.
Okay.
Because we had a running joke with Banshee as well. So, friend of ours, Gus Collier, is on Team Banshee. And any time the flipper stopped working, we were like, "Oh, Gus, what did you do? What did you do to it?
Oh, he touched it. Oh no!
Oh, Gus touched it again. Oh no!"
So there was the problem with Banshee is its main RAM was built in 2 parts.
Okay.
So it would leak out the sides. So we fixed it at Proving Grounds by just saying, "Well, screw it, let's weld it."
Yeah. No longer 2 parts.
And,
no more leaking.
We did that. Then I got rid of his air tank hose and put some grease line that I found at Harbor Freight in it.
There you go.
And that's when
perfect for BattleBots.
Yeah, it did so well at Proving Grounds. I think its performance at Proving Grounds is what is kind of locked into.
That was reminiscent of Kelpie. Kelpie is previous smaller weight class flipper robot that looks almost identical to Banshee. It's cool, and it does well as a flipper in the Beetleweight scene, and who knows, Banshee could do well in the heavyweight scene. I really hope they get let back in, because it is a very cool robot. It's getting more and more rare as a design, flippers, because the meta is just so spinny, and so
it really is hard mode. It's with a very KE heavy field.
Can we get Banshee against huge run of a big wheeled robot, so we can get the full Kelpie v Billy moment of it's just wound itself together. They are deeply entangled,
just stuck forever. You got to remove them out together. Perfect.
Yeah.
So
would not enjoy that, but it'd be a laugh.
No, he would not. he would just lean over the top and just disappointed with his mask on, just like, how could you do this? Well, in any case, Cobalt moves on. Banshee's out for the year.
I'm done for now.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Commendable final. It's not quite the final fight, because they do have whiteboard later on, but televised fight. Commendable exit, I think.
Definitely.
Indeed. Next fight.
Big Dill against Jackpot. So, Jeff, going into this fight, you make a funny little quip that this is quite a pickle, ha ha ha, very funny for the children. So you go into this fight with Blackheart. You want a stronger, more focused attack, you said, and you talked about this earlier on. While the fight's going on, are you still okay with that decision? Do you think that this was the way to go?
So normally, yes, but at this point we're having so much gremlins with the weapon system. If you notice, in all of our fights between leading up to Witch Doctor, even now, they're just the weapon will sometimes work, and sometimes it just says, "I'm not working today."
Yeah, it's
just going to 16S and keeping the same electronics in the previous year. They were just not happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, screw it. We get more fights. Let's do it. Big Deal's scary, but it's not going to total us. We're gonna have a robot afterwards, most likely.
Yeah.
So we kind of went in there with the big spinner, and we also looked at it well, if we advance, it's either going to be lucky or overkill.
Yes.
So we're going to have a robot again. So we just kind of brought this whole fuck it, send it mentality to this bracket, and it kind of showed the way I was driving it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do get one hell of a hit off this box rush from Big Dill. Big Dill wanted to be more maneuverable than you. They wanted to outrun you, basically. Try to get around and try to be the more aggressive robot. Oh man, I just, how does a hit like this happen where he loses the weapon almost immediately after this first box rush, and then you just kind of get to just pick your spots and pick them apart slowly.
I'm pretty sure by the end of the fight the weapon's not attached anymore.
No, the weapon was gone after the first hit, I think. So that all comes down to reach.
Yeah. And that's what we were talking about.
We have we have 2 inches more reach than any robot in the field.
Mm-hmm.
That's
including most of the horizontal. Like, I think the only things that are bigger is like the big nasty horizontals.
Yeah.
We're
spinning we're taking the horizontal reach approach and tilting it on its axis, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. And we've talked about it before, where verts have this innate advantage over horizontals where they have the ground to send the force through, where horizontal, we still haven't figured out a way to make the force go through the ground fully, because you're going to lose basically all of it just going away. It's just how impact works. It's a very tough business to do.
I've worked it out. I've got a plan.
Okay.
Are you ready? This is my armchair engineering for the week.
Deep six.
What we do with our horizontals, right?
Okay.
Spin up, drive forwards. Just before you hit the other robot, a spring goes off under the robot, and you jump in the air and then dive bomb your opponent.
You become a vertical just briefly.
Flawless. Flawless idea. No notes. Good stuff.
Day at school, hasn't it, Jevon?
It really has been a long day at school.
Me and Derek Tran keep joking about this idea of doing that with Gigabyte.
Yeah.
Of like,
yes, that'd be amazing. The flying saucer actually takes off.
Yeah, and just dive bombs on top of the other robot.
We've already had that with Gigabyte and Tantrum anyway, like just trying to catch it midair.
So I think what it comes down to is if you look at like the front of Big Dill's geometry, and if you look at, Madden, Jackpot's got the monoblade in this picture.
Yes.
Look at the way those front end is. It just funnels you right into the middle.
Yep.
So even if I missed like an inch or two to the left or to the right, it would have guided me right back into that weapon. So I think just that Jackpot prefers the head-on weapon-to-weapon hits, because you're just going to outreach them and you're usually going to hit their weapon core before their weapon hits you.
Yeah, absolutely.
In most cases.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why it just went and the whole thing just flew away.
Absolutely. There's a period of this fight where it looks like he's down one side of drive, and then all of a sudden something works its way out, whether it was part of his wedge lid or part of a belt or something like that, but something seems to work its way out, and then
definitely seemed jammed for a bit.
I think we just hit him so hard that we jammed him.
Yeah.
But what I was super impressed is at the beginning of the fight, like that box rush, he flips us, then immediately we just pop right back over. It's like, like this thing never self-rights.
Yeah, just what the arms were built for, to get you out of that kind of a situation. It's very rewarding to know that some design aspects actually work out the way they're supposed to in the box. Because that's one thing in the past that you've had trouble with. You had trouble with your first run out was just getting toppled over, and that was the end of the road.
Issues with it. Like even now, like a month ago, like the second Bloodsport fight, like I get knocked on my back and the clutch is slipping. I can't self-right. Well, keep hitting me, Bloodsport, until I flip over, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was it like driving not against just one driver, but two very experienced drivers? I mean, we did have one driving a much smaller robot and not just Supreme. We were just talking about the dangers of these kinds of robots. Was there any fear going into this fight that he might clip a wheel or something like that? Or
little vert.
Yeah, we were. That's not just Supreme. It's designed by Russ Barrow, and he is a wizard of titanium. Like it's he until like recently, like he never catted anything. It was just all hand built. Everything he did. So going into this fight, we actually loaded in Ace, and Ace did not bind to Jason's radio. So we're like, well, let's pull it out. So we pulled it out. So it's going to be like, not so Supreme and Ace and Jackpot and Big Dill. And I think it would for the better because I think not just Supreme would have done more damage to Ace, and Ace was on its last leg at this point. Like it got obliterated by Ribot, it got obliterated by Witch Doctor. It got we were down to our last.
It's had a pretty rough go.
Yeah.
So it was the greater good in the long run.
Yeah.
Like we brought 3 chassis and we were down to our last chassis at this point. Good. I think Scorpios killed the first one, then Ribot killed the second one, then Witch Doctor just kind of nicked the forks, but the chassis survived.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're talking about this with damage limitations because this fight did go to the judges. Big Dill, I will say we haven't talked a whole lot about how well they controlled the second half of this fight.
It's really weird watching it because they lose a side of drive and then they get it back. And they get it back through letting the smoke out. And we've always spoken about letting the weakness out of your robot, and that seemed to work for them.
You're supposed to keep the smoke in, though. That keeps the robot working. That's the problem.
Yeah, but it's weakness leaving. It's all good.
It is. It's weakness leaving the robot. It's the other side of that argument.
It's the Banshee leaving the robot.
The glass half
that was the last fight.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's fine.
Yeah, but it ends up going in your favor, Jeff. Were you a little nervous going into this? I feel like you always are, but I mean, give me your take.
You're always nervous in a JD because you don't know what the judges saw. You know what you saw, but you don't know if that's what they saw.
Yeah.
So then you're I think what did it is at the end of the fight, I was able to drive back to my starting square with weapon spinning and arms moving, and Dill was not able to.
Yeah. Losing the weapon in the very beginning of the fight, I feel like it was always going to be a difficult thing to overcome for Big Dill in this, because they honestly would have had to take out one of your weapon systems to equal it, honestly, to make this even closer.
I think because the way BattleBots is, I don't think they consider his lifter to be a weapon. I think they consider it the same right as like ours. Like,
yes.
Which is weird because the lifter is probably more primary than the spinner on Big Dill.
Yeah, similar with Whiplash, where their lifter is the main weapon and the spinner sometimes isn't even on the robot. Sometimes it's just the lifter that goes in. I feel like I use him as an example all the time, but it's just the best example I have.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you get through unanimous decision, same score across all 3 judges saw it. They saw it the same way points wise, but we don't know what the breakup was, and I don't know if they ever posted the cards. But 7-4 across the board for all 3 judges. You make it through, and your next fight's gonna be a tricky one, but we'll get there when we get there. But as we move on, Big Dill, unfortunately, this may be the last time we see them. I don't know if they'll be coming up in a future episode, but as soon as they post brackets, I'm sure we'll cover it. So we'll move on to the next fight. Emulsifier and Captain Shrederator.
Okay.
What are we talking about here?
Watching this fight live, I was like cheering off my ass. I was like, yeah, the Shrederator's going to do it. He's got it. Then he didn't.
Emulsifier made beating Shrederator look hard.
Yeah. It's super strange. I don't know what was following Matt and Emulsifier this whole event. It just seems like no matter what Emulsifier does, even when it has a good fight, it seems like there's just something behind it saying, no, you can't. No, you can't.
In that bot.
Yeah.
I'm a massive Emulsifier fan. Like, I've built a Lego one. I've got the scarf behind me. Bots FC Stan.
Yeah.
So when I saw this matchup, I was like, let's go. Emulsifier's going through. And then the fight was happening. I'm sat there at the edge of my seat. Well, I'm stood up because we're proper roboteers and we stand for all robots, like the national anthem. Yeah. And I'm just there like, please come on.
The pit in your stomach when half the drive goes.
You can do this. You were acing a fusion fight earlier in the season. It's Shrederator, please.
Yeah, and Shrederator's still very tentative, even with one side of drive. Brian it's such a wide front
that
to
wedge,
Emulsifier,
and he's like,
so scary.
Which is even weirder, knowing like the behind the scenes stuff of Brian saying this might have been his last year.
Yeah,
as well. Like, you would have thought if this is potentially his last like competition fight, just go for it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of fights of Shrederator maybe to go and think like maybe going and getting a lot of excessive hits on the shell maybe isn't the best idea. And that's what those Talons of Freedom were for. It was the idea to get up underneath.
I will say that it's the best setup I've seen attached to a ring spinner, a body spinner like this.
Yeah.
Like they work pretty well, and they would have upset the front end of Emulsifier had he tried.
Yeah, absolutely. But unfortunately, the Gremlins catch up to Shrederator again, and the disc die. The spinning shield of Captain America has decided to just stay static again,
and
yeah. And I mean, could this be? I feel like we've had this conversation ad nauseum. Is this the last Shrederator fight we're ever going to see? No.
Rumor mill is that there's a new one being built. So
it'll keep getting brought back to life.
The brushless Shrederator is looking pretty good. So this Shrederator is actually 190 pounds.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Because
very light.
Yeah. It's because it's the old 220.
Yeah.
And it has brushless and lipos. So it's cut like 30 pounds.
Yeah.
So that's why when it just hits things, it just goes gone. Yeah, there's no mass behind it,
Yeah.
That's why when Riptide was hitting it, it was just so impressive looking because it's down 60 pounds.
Yeah.
I was going to say, knowing that now and how underweight Shredder, it's had such a rough go. It's had such a rough go this time. And I feel like if there's another one in the mix, anything can be better than what happened.
Make it bigger, more flags, and put a gun on it. Cool.
That seems to be its power. That seems to be its power.
That's the other problem with Shrederator is like the shell hasn't got lighter because you're not updating the components in the shell, you're updating the components in the base. So you still have a 110-pound shell with a 80-pound base. So it's
a very tricky subject, it's a very tricky solution that they're trying to find down there in Florida, down in south of us here, or east of us. I don't know. I've never eat soggy waffles.
You, Steve. That's the main thing.
It's bad that Steve, who lives in the state, doesn't know where bits of Florida are.
You're not helping we've got the stereotype about geography in America. Steve.
We've got no hope.
That's why I never make it to events down here. I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah, where am I?
Yeah, which is unfortunate too. I'm gonna miss out on Ruckus. It's a good thing I didn't sign up because I got to work that weekend. I can't get out of it.
So you walked in the wrong direction.
He went north.
Yeah. Oh shoot. Well, really, it's east for me. But any case, off of the Florida nonsense.
I took a punt at a direction, got it wrong.
It's all good. In any case, it's all Florida, always has been. Emulsifier gets through this fight, making it look a little harder than it should have been. But I feel like if we had Matt to bring up what happened in that fight, and if he's listening, I would love to know what happened and why he lost the sided drive so early. I know there was there were some exchanges, but it just didn't seem like I think
the corner wizard, the wizard who lives in the corner that upsets all the robots, found his robot again.
So this is the wrong corner. It's usually that far corner. So Emulsifier gets through. Maybe we'll see another version of Captain Shrederator in the future, but this one appears to be going out the pasture.
To be fair, they've done well to put it back together again after Riptide.
After the incident.
Yeah, and with this one being one of the bots that really has kept a lot of old tech going. This is the bot that this is one of those things where Brian went back to old tech and it started doing better again. So I'll be curious to see what they bring for a future design.
I don't know if anybody's fully appreciated the fact that is the Captain America font.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just want to bring that
attention to detail. Absolutely. It's nice. we love to see it. Last qualifier fight, Lucky and Overhaul. Now, these are bots that have been around for just about the entire run of the reboot. And is this the first time they've met? I don't think they've met before. Or have they met before?
They might have done.
Yeah, if not, it's been quite some time.
I'm going to put my research boots on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if they have, it's been a while.
Remember, but it's nice seeing a non-spinner fight at BattleBots, right?
Yeah, it was a good old tussle. I didn't mind this at all. We had Lucky being a slight favorite here. I feel like there's a recency bias there because how well Lucky did, and Overhaul scrape the win. Maybe a couple unlucky decisions. It's Charles can be mad about the spinner master race forever. So everything's balanced with the world. Charles' goal in this fight was to try to make Lucky waste its air, basically make it into a push fight, or even get Lucky flipped over and then win the fight outright that way.
They have not fought before.
Not exactly gone to plan. Lucky comes out in this fight and just decides it's gonna just go ham.
We know why he's not gonna waste the air, because Matt's got the headset on saying, "Oh
yeah, it just in his ear." That's it. We've lost.
Yeah, that's it. We lost it
every single fight.
Missed the point. That's it.
Yeah,
it's over.
Oh, I forgot about that bit. But Lucky did a really great job in this fight. Basically just running Overhaul, just box side to box side everywhere.
Yeah.
It was a true tour of the arena. Absolutely,
yeah.
Agreed. It's a testament to how how good Lucky's been this season. It's sad that it's a bot that Matt's just he is a phenomenal driver, and it's sad they came up against a Hypershock team that just had a little bit more in the bracket.
Driver.
Yeah, I know. It's a really, they're just all phenomenal drivers. Jeff, you're a phenomenal driver.
Jeff's a phenomenal driver.
We'll just say it to everybody. In any case, but yeah, I don't know if you guys have a whole lot more to add, but I feel like this was very one-way traffic.
Yeah,
pretty cut and dry.
Yeah,
Lucky nice, Lucky good. Overhaul. See you next time.
Yeah, Jeff, anything to add?
No, I just I was looking at this, going into this fight, like, oh yeah, I know. I think when they fought, I already fought Big Dill at this point. Yeah, it was like, okay, I'm fighting the winner of this, and I think I watched the box set. It's like, I like both of these. Like, I was not upset about fighting either of these. Like, I've watched Overhaul since the reboot season one, and one of my first robot merch in the modern era was like a pair of like Overhaul ears.
Yeah.
That I have somewhere around here. Everything's being boxed away. I'm moving in a few days, so.
Interestingly, the four fights from this bracket first round, then rearrange the words into the right order. The four fights for the start of this bracket were consecutive in terms of slugfest. I don't know if they were like in the actual record, but it was Banshee Cobalt, Jackpot Big Dill, Lucky Overhaul, Emulsifier Captain Shred. So there you go, little behind the curtain peek.
Yeah, yep. I guess and maybe I'm giving a lot of credit to Lucky, doing really well in this fight, and having now again seen the end of this fight. I think they're really lucky that the rule change is in effect for crab walking, because I don't think they would have survived the count. I don't know what happened at the end of this fight. The whole bot just decided to let the smoke out, and it just had it. I feel like
it exhaled.
Yeah,
like Matt is an aggressive driver because RC cars, and he's used to brushless and 1/5 skill RC racing, and I've done. Yeah, it's one of the things I had to dial back a little bit too. Is you're a lot more aggressive in RC racing, because one mess up and you're done. Yeah, but bots are a little forgiving. Like you can mess up like a turn or something like that. With cars, like you mess up a turn and someone's on your inside. So I think him like learning how to like treat it more like a robot than less like an RC car is what's been making Matt better about this. It's just you see it again and again with Lucky is they blow out their drive motors. It's just it's a mag motor issue, or I don't know if they use mags or if they use amp flows, but brush in runners.
But yeah, absolutely. It's definitely lucky that they survived at the end of this fight. I'm not leaving.
You watched Anderson's ghost sweep over you there, Steve.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He's not dead.
I feel like he's on my. It's like the angel and the devil, on my shoulder. Like, don't say it. Don't say it. They're both exactly,
and they're both saying "say it."
Yeah, absolutely. Not really good. Not really good backup I have here. Unfortunately, in this.
But yeah,
those aren't angels; they're slot machines.
See, that's what I mean.
I'm sorry, I've just arrived at the joke.
Yeah, there you go. It's all good. Yeah, Lucky survives, goes through. Unanimous judge's decision. unfortunate that they probably have to do a lot more work now to get ready for the next fight. Quick turnaround. With it all being filmed in a day. It's a tough go, and Charles, graceful in defeat, it's another loss, unfortunately, for Overhaul, but this was going to be a tough draw for him. He was going to have to get to the sides of Lucky, and Lucky is just so quick. So from there, let's move on to our first semifinal of the night, which sees Emulsifier and Cobalt. Now, this was a really good fight. If anybody wants to take the lead on this one, I feel like I'm taking the lead on a lot of these.
Just before the fight, I love the button press of just here's the board. We don't like forks. That's it.
Well, I mean, I guess that's a sentiment shared by many, unfortunately, but that's where the meta go.
Included.
That's where the meta go. It's just
Cobalt was still showing signs of new driver behind
tentativeness. Yes, definitely. There's definitely some caginess,
and is still struggling with the seams.
Mm-hmm.
But
running the same forks again, running the same sets of forks again, with an extra one in the middle.
I was going to say he's running more forks than he was before. Yes. He had driving issues, and he's gone more. More forks are the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And this fight was filmed after the previous one, so I'm curious.
Forks are for eating.
Yeah, but I guess they were worried about Emulsifier running any kind of forks, because Emulsifier didn't run a single fork. They just run. No. They ran no front end.
This was really weird setup.
This was full weapon, full engagement. So that was the idea.
I both am keen and I'm not keen. Like on the one hand, all reach. Like it's jackpot strats basically. It's put your weapon as far out as possible. And it moves so much better in this fight.
Yes.
Yeah. Drive issues are sorted out.
Yeah. But unfortunately, without having a little bit of front protection, there's another robot with a very scary weapon that wanted to do that in pretty quickly. And it's always going to be tough to go up against Cobalt no matter who you are. Emulsifier has the reach advantage with the fact that Cobalt's weapon is so far back in its chassis. And it does a pretty good job keeping on top of them for the majority of this fight.
It takes out a reasonable amount of the forks, but it doesn't take out enough.
Yeah.
And no, I think there's also later on in the fight where Emulsifier goes up in the air and you can clearly see the gouges in the base plate of this has taken quite a bit of damage at this point.
Absolutely.
Gyro is massive in this fight.
Yeah.
The complete lack of anything stopping it from doing that is very present, and it does it a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
It's the whole reasoning by why you see Jackpot sides dip down where the wheels are, because it limits our gyroing. Basically, it kind of acts as a soft stop or a bump stop for gyroing.
Yeah, I remember. I think Will talks about it with Aftershock ages ago. But that's the reason why the wheels are so set in, to make sure it doesn't gyro as much. And I swear, Endgame have got a similar situation as well. It just helps with the gyro.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that first real big gyro over Cobalt's disc is really what started to turn the fight really one direction. You lose tracks. The redundancy is shown here. We're having shreddable tracks as an interesting design choice. It keeps the bot running instead of having one solid track. And but unfortunately,
there's the big hit.
Yeah, there's the big hit.
Sends it into corner to die underneath a pulverizer.
Yeah,
I do think in this fight that Emulsifier loses it rather than Cobalt wins it. That's Emulsifier is by far the aggressor. It's circling, it's coming in for attacks all the time. Cobalt's what the hell is happening to me?
With no ground game, how is it going to get to the sides of it was hoping to maybe clip the top of Cobalt. I'm very curious why they went with no front end.
If you hit the armor in the right place, Cobalt goes over.
Yeah.
And
we know if you hit it in the right place, spoiler for later, fun stuff happens.
Yeah. So, it's a decent strategy. It's an ugly ass setup. It's a decent strategy. and it works for them for a little while, and then just it's the gyrate that does them in. Ultimately, in this fight, it's driving mistakes, and they gyro into the weapon a couple too many times, and that's curtains.
Yeah, your love child robot has unfortunately bitten the dust. The one
They've surely done enough to get in next season, though.
I would think so. I feel like this bot from
got
being
a vertical spinner on it.
Yeah, it does. A big one
gives it a
takes...
free pass.
Yeah. Emulsifier is just such a it's a different style of disc. It's got so much mass far out from the center.
It's an absolutely huge
Do you see
disc.
how much it takes to get that thing to spin up, even just at the beginning of the fight? They must be drawing so much current that's just to get that thing to overcome the braking of those.
I might be talking
insane.
out my backside here, but I think that they have a separate system to get it up to speed.
Yeah.
But I might have made that up, and it's a different robot that has that. But I don't remember.
What's your robot?
Emulsifier. Does it have like a soft spin up and then a hard spin to keep it going, or something like that, or a hard spin up?
I know Deep Six had it.
That's what I'm saying. I know Deep Six has.
Yeah,
I might be thinking
that might be
Deep
who we're
Six here.
thinking of. Yeah, because of how
it's a great idea.
Massive
They
that weapon
should incorporate it.
So
absolutely.
The reason Deep Six has it though is not for like faster spin up. It's so it can self-right using the weapon.
Yeah, it's the torque, wasn't it?
Because it has like a ratcheting clutch in it that we saw help with the initial design of it. Basically, it's like a big old like ratchet you would see in just like there's your normal like off the shelf automotive ratchet. It's like a big that. So once the blade starts spinning faster, the brush motors is no longer contributing, but it's still spinning.
Yeah, and that I guess that's the maybe that's something that would be advantageous to have for a bot like Emulsifier, or maybe they can adopt some kind of system where they can actually have something to get them back over, because this isn't the first time we've seen them in this position.
I mean,
if this was after a massive hit.
If drive is working, they can just drive and it will right, but obviously that didn't happen for them here.
No,
this is true.
Everything was a bit dead by the end of that.
Yeah, unfortunately.
There were big holes.
Yeah, there were big holes that needed patching, and
I remember those holes. We saw those holes in the audience, and it was like, ooh.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt.
It's kind of reminding me a little bit of Quantum after the Robot fight. Like, oh, that base plate's not happy.
Yeah. No,
that one's a bad had. So Emulsifiers. Emulsifiers.
I must say, both me and David predicted Cobalt here.
Okay.
Yeah. After all that talk about Emulsifier, we went Cobalt.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even remember who I predicted post. Or did I? I don't even know. So moving on from here, Cobalt with a new driver still makes a final. Still makes a final in a bracket.
Decent robot.
Yeah.
Even somebody learning how to drive the robot.
Yeah,
winning
on the fly. It's crazy. And we'll get to see who they fight after this next fight between Lucky and Jackpot. All right, we've had this whole conversation about mini bots. Ace is the star of the show in this whole fight. At least the whole beginning of this fight. It's underneath Lucky. It's bothering it. It's basically avoiding Matt being able to do what he does so well, which is control the pace. And then it goes so
that was 100% the strategy going into this fight, right?
Yeah, absolutely. To bother Lucky. Sure, Jeff.
So what's good about Ace, especially this time around, is it was enough to open up me able to get spun up. So we were having issues, or our spin up was maybe like 15 seconds. It was horrible. Like the motor, nothing was happy. We had to run the belt super loose so the motors would start spinning. So that's why you just hear whenever Jackpot like turns or something, you just hear this aggressive screaming or like tire squealing. It's just because we have to run the belt so loose that it can't overcome the torque when it's gyroing. It's very sad, and I'm surprised it just kept refusing the loops.
Yeah.
So it would, so I'd run around for like that first like 20-30 seconds to get up to speed. Because once it's up to speed, it's fine. It's just getting there. So that's where Ace comes in, and Ace is kind of just gets onto Lucky's right side, and it allowed me a really good shot on the left side of Lucky. And I went in there and I believe I pinned the wheel guards against the wheels.
Mm-hmm.
So from that point on, it was struggling on that whole side to overcome the added friction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what did it in towards the end. And because it was already hobbling, it allowed Ace to get in and get even more grabs.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up getting
just a vicious cycle from there, essentially.
exactly. You get the first grab, and from there it's kind of like spirals down. So I don't know if you can see it. I wish I had a picture on hand, but we punched them right in the face in one of the shots, and they're just like that's solid metal, and it's indented almost an inch deep, just by pure compression force. And I think that's actually what kind of hurt their arm because their system kept locking up on their arm.
Yeah, absolutely. And then something happens in the near side of the box where you guys are, and unfortunately, Ace gets sacrificed to the robot gods. Unfortunately,
what happened is Ace's fork timed it perfectly and went through our uprights into between our belts and through the weapon.
Oh.
So the weapon grabbed Ace's fork and pulled it through the belts, both killing Ace and snapping our belts.
Oh,
that's not what you want.
That's impressive.
I know for a fact that this happened because there's dents in the little upright you see the little sticks that come down by the top of the heart, the little upright braces. There was a dent in there the size of the bar of Ace's forks.
Yeah, that's crazy. But this is like the beginning of like Lucky's revival in this fight, and I feel this whole fight kind of turns on its head where they flip you and they get you up onto the shelf, and now it's oh no, is Matt found himself now? Is he's already been under Jackpot once, and now he has him under the hammers, and this whole fight starts to get really, really tight now, where you're on top with damage, even after neutralizing your own minibot. I feel like I feel like you're still on top with damage at this point. But with this happening now, and with them in control, Matt just decides to just sit in the corner and just wait for the count to let you go, because I feel like he knows he's behind on points, and he's just trying to find a way to get back on top again, and he pins you deep in there, and it's got to be frustrating to know like that your bot's like right there and you just can't get it out of that corner.
I don't think it was him holding it there to count at the time. I think his motors were overheating and he was trying to give them time to cool down.
Okay.
Because he wasn't moving at all.
Yeah, because you do see smoke at some points during this fight. I do realize that.
So I think he's trying to time out run the clock down.
Mm-hmm.
So he has enough robot left by the time 3 minutes rolls up.
Now I will say, where do we draw the line at the corralling rule?
I don't know, and that's
this corralling, or is this wearing Jackpot as a hat?
Yeah, it at first it was wearing Jackpot as a hat, and just for what Jeff said there, this was definitely Lucky. From what you've said, it's Lucky trying to survive to the bell. It's a boxer, clenching, getting you on the ropes, holding on,
hugging your opponent for a
absolutely,
bit,
just trying to survive. But this is a really a really back and forth fight. I feel like it's a really good showing from both teams, and I do
feel that there is a rematch on the cards, because this is seemingly incredibly controversial, and I'm not entirely sure why.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I was hoping it was going to work, but it didn't quite work. It's like the arms on Jackpot can touch both sides of the rope, both sides of the ground, behind and front of the robot. So I was actively trying to wave them around to try to get off of Lucky, because I still had full drive and all that. So I was like, if I can get off of Lucky, I know Lucky's gimped right now.
Yeah.
Then eventually, I get off him and he's still in the corner, and I run to the middle. Then John's, Remar is yelling at me, you need to engage him. So I kind of go over there and poke him, then run away. Because they're like, what am I going to do? I have a lifter, but it's not like a lifter. It's more like a active ground game device.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's a tough call, and I feel like it's going to be.
It's a very interesting fight, and
Yeah.
this is a fight of the week, so that BattleBots can cash in on that controversy money.
Well, it's a split decision. There's going to be something, There's got to be some kind of argument there.
Yeah, and this is so back and forth. I've just been having a look at the comment section of this fight.
Why did you do that?
Because I'm interested to know what people are thinking. The one judging wise. Because everybody is a better judge than the judges, clearly.
Yeah,
apparently.
That's why they're all there every season.
I do enjoy a lot of the comments saying, "Oh, it's unfair. It's 2-on-1. How is this legal?"
Yeah,
it's.
I love that so much.
The casuals will be casual.
The band
at their best.
Like me and Jay, okay, I'll drop this here. The end goal of Ace is to get mini-bots banned.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is that's how it starts.
To make it so good that they don't want
motivation.
them anymore.
I mean, I think that's where the lithium rule came in, because they got tired of these little boxy things in there. Then it's like, well, it just got rid of all the other ones but us. So this is unfortunate. So let's push it harder, and eventually we'll get these things banned, and we'll take that as a victory.
Next season it's going to be
a friend
a bigger
of mine,
Ace.
That's trying to get various rules and Antweight sorted out at the moment, just pushing them.
That's the same. Yeah, literally doing the same thing with Norwalk right now. It's there's a thing here, and I think I pushed it too hard recently with the Shuffler Ace or Shuffler Supreme Ruler for a mini bot, quote unquote, and they changed the rules on the spot. Night they changed the rules.
Mm-hmm.
That says a lot, considering what we've seen at Norwalk this year. Of
there's been so many
pushing the rules,
rules fudgings that. Oh man. But this one, the actual judging of it, a lot of people saying Lucky should have won, a lot of people saying Jackpot should have won, and did win.
The fact that
it was split, so of course there's going to be people on both sides. Some people see it like fun.
Some people have said, some of the comments I've seen were a lot of them have been people pushing categories so that Lucky wins. And it's but you've just ignored everything. So things I've seen comments that say Lucky wins 3-0 on aggression. I'm sorry, are you ignoring the fact that Jackpot was in the arena?
It's very odd.
They were attacking. There's a lot in this fight, and I think a lot of people need to go and read the judge's guide, because it explains how Jackpot won this battle.
The other thing was if the match was 20 more seconds long, I don't think Lucky would have kept moving.
No.
Yeah, it's not likely. And this is another instance of Lucky surviving to the bell. This is 2 fights in a row now where they've kind of pushed this robot to the brink of just smoking out.
It's an older robot
anymore.
Yeah, this is true. It isn't an older machine.
I mean, in the season,
it's
had a rough old season.
Yeah,
it got blown up by Cobalt. It had Hypershock do the nasty to it. It's come off of several rough matches. It's just holding on to get to this stage, but a final punt from Jackpot.
It's where what we said about reading the comments. I read the comment from Mark actually saying that he thought that they'd lost the fight, because in that last 20 seconds when it's starting to smoke big time, it's that's the killer for them.
It's the same thing. You're looking forward to your big Dill fight too, the big Dill fight at the end. Same thing. They were crab walking at the end, and I think that what you show at the end is more impactful than most of the stuff that goes on during
functionality. That's why they do the functionality display at the end, because
it gives that lasting image for them.
It shows you what isn't working, from an eyeball point of view. In this fight, Jackpot has lost its weapon. Lucky is struggling to drive. The impact of drive is more so than the impact of weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Swings in your favour. Aggression. People have argued that Lucky was being aggressive more so than Jackpot. Maybe. I think a lot more of Lucky's attacks were controlling, and they were pinning. They were doing this, that, and the other to control the match. And that's the way I saw it anyway. But I'm excited for your rematch next year. It's gonna be on the cards for sure.
It'd be a good laugh.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
definitely. Absolutely. Before we get on to the final fight, there was a cool little interlude we had in this episode where we got to see Mark Setrakian's Stalker in action.
Yeah, Stalker, the
yeah,
thing
got
that they
to-
re-recorded about 5-6
Why
times.
did they use the recording of him going, whoa? And the phone was
Whoa.
falling?
It's
Like,
just-
of
they
all
had
the ones to use.
They had so many takes of it on like the last couple of days of recording. and
They
went for that
tried
one in the end.
several different demonstrations of it. I don't know whether they were just filling time as well, but they filmed that thing many times.
Yeah.
It's still a very, very cool bot. I really like Stalker.
Definitely.
It's exciting
Yeah.
that they want a Walker class. They put that on Facebook and like, hey, do you want to build a Walker? Let us know.
Absolutely. And that's Mark to a T, building cool stuff and bringing it and showing it off. I mean, let's see, Mechadon, Snake, the Master. I mean, you could all the animatronic work he does, the stuff he did for the Robot Combat League that was hosted by oh my god, what's his name?
I forgot that existed.
What was his name?
Jeffries.
No, it
No.
wasn't Jeff Jeffries. I'm gonna look this up. It's gonna make me mad.
Mike Rees?
League. It was a
Mike
wrestler.
Jeffries?
It was a wrestler.
Martin Mason!
No.
Chris Jericho. It was hosted by Chris Jericho.
Really?
And it was all those bots that was Mark. He's known for pushing the boundaries and being just a brilliant artist with mechanics and all kinds of other things that he does. He's a brilliant mind, and we're glad to have him in our sphere. But I look forward to seeing what this Walker class would look like. I mean, I feel like we've just seen the preliminaries of it, and I feel like there's a lot of R&D that people can do, a lot of minds that can join that think tank and bring that forward.
I just really hope they properly write the definition of what is a walker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're gonna see some weird things going on.
Yeah.
Son of Waiachi!
Yeah, or
Yep.
Scuttle, or Anarchy, or Cam Walkers. It's not quite a walker; it's a stomp bot. Where similar to Pressure Drop. That's a Cam Walker at the end of the day.
No, it's 250 Ham Shack. That's what we're after here. That's,
Okay, there you
It's
go.
just droopy.
Yeah, it's all droopy.
It
But that was
always has been.
yeah. But that's a cool little bit we had there. It was cool to actually see that get some time, because that was there at the event. Sometimes he'd bring it out front, and he'd just play around with it, just kind of unannounced, just show it up on stage.
We, in our Swan Song tour of the pits, we actually went and had a chat with.
We did, and we didn't film it.
Setrakian.
Yeah.
We didn't film it. No, it was literally we were running out of time. We were having casual conversations with everyone, and we were just like,
we tried to
hey,
hit as many people as possible, just to get some common conversation.
once in a lifetime potentially.
Yeah,
There's Mark Setrakian. Let's go and have a chat.
he's a legend, man. He's a legend of the sport. He's a legend of the special effects world. I mean, he's just a lovely person. So he got some TV time. It might not be his last TV appearance this season. We'll see. So we move on to the final fight of the night. Jackpot and Cobalt. So who saw this coming? Two hard hitters.
Can I say
Yes,
now
David,
on our
do your
predictions?
thing.
Right. I have predicted Jackpot to win all three of its fights in this Sin City, and I could just sit very not happy and say, okay,
Engage smug
this win.
mode.
Yeah, I'm very smug. I didn't know how Jackpot was going to win this fight, but I thought, you know what, I think they have a chance. Take it away, Jeff.
My notes state that I've gone for Cobalt here, and underneath Jackpot is a note that says David in their ill state. Because that you were not well.
The bot flu was a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We were dragging at this.
I
point.
did enjoy all the predictions. You're like most of the predictions had Jackpot Cobalt as a final, but all the one of my favorite comments is like,
not your way.
Cobalt's going to win this unless Jackpot does something really freaking silly.
Well,
Then-
Jeff, you did the silly thing.
Well,
you basically
I
did
let
what
the ghost
Demo
out.
does. You let the ghost out of the other robot. It was the smoke screen that just pours out
It's
of
one
the
hell of a
Cobalt.
hit.
It
It's
was
visceral.
That was probably I don't know any other references for lipofires in person, but god dang, that was
And you're in
you
there.
couldn't see.
Yeah.
You couldn't see the bots.
The fog of war has returned. in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
hit.
I had these two tail lights on Jackpot that are like the power lights, and I was kind of using that as a reference of where I was.
It's the beautiful
Jeff-
teeing up
Jeff
of
has
Tracer.
fog lights.
Yeah.
It does. I've just seen them. I'm watching the fight right now.
Yeah.
And then you bury your weapon into his backside.
Yeah. Is there any worry that like, oh, that fire might be hardening the black heart? Oh no, what are we gonna do? Or it might be unhardening it.
So my thing was, if I stopped moving and asked for because they were asking, do you want an unstick? Do you want an unstick? No unstick, please. My theory was, if I keep moving, especially in reverse, the fire is not touching me.
Yes.
Yep. It's not affecting the robot
smart.
at all.
Yeah.
That's very clever.
Yeah.
And so, if I'm driving backwards and I can't get in the release backwards, I eventually just give up and ram them right into the corner. And it frees us. And Cobalt's still working somehow.
It was like, shit.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Cobalt has batteries on both sides of the bot or if it's just all there and I didn't get all of them. So there's probably one that was still working.
Yeah. Split packs, possibly.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Cobalt with its top off, unfortunately. That's for the X-rated scene. But in any case,
Being said on RoboCast.
But this fight changes finally when you guys hit the wall. You get separated. Cobalt's doing its best Black Dragon impression, Minotaur impression, where it just drives around with a tear on fire.
But you can see that the fire is taking over.
When it gyroed up and that, it just got fuel in, like it just got a lot of air into it, and that when it just went up even further.
Yeah, and then with the gyro, then you're right, more fuel. The fire has more things to burn all of a sudden. It's thinking, okay, I'm gonna go the path of least resistance, and here's more fuel for me to burn. And unfortunately, it seems to have hit some pretty vital components because Cobalt just stops dead. And
it's so on fire.
Yeah.
It's possibly the most on fire robot this season.
Like, it's putting Fusion to shame for how much on fire it is.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably no internals left at this point.
In the UK, like around the 5th of November, loads of people would come and gather round Cobalt and watch some fireworks and things. Yeah. It's Guy Fawkes night. And it's insane how on fire it is.
Yeah. It is well and truly cooked. And I appreciate you trying to fan out the fire with your lifter. I mean, that was very courteous.
Just needed some marshmallows on the end of those.
Yeah. Ace at one point tries to like sacrifice itself to the pits of Hades at first, trying to get the forks and trying to get them pinned as if they were going anywhere anyway, because they were in a rough state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going into this fight, like the strategy was like, you kept talking like, what's our strategy? What's our strategy? And the strategy we kept doing was, don't get hit. Don't get hit was the strategy.
Be the one who's hitting.
I think you only get hit once, and you managed to self-right.
I didn't get hit.
Yeah.
I hit their forks and it popped me back because I hit at a downward angle.
Yeah.
Then
it's just sparks coming out of the robot. I'm watching the replay now. Yeah, it's just sparks coming out of that fire.
Yeah.
It's all it is.
Yeah. Had it not been for Ace getting them hung up and giving you a chance to basically teed them up.
Well, if you look at we took it so slow, like we split around Cobalt, which is one of the ideas. I was like, we're both going to go at him, and one of us going to go left, and one of us going to go right.
Mm-hmm.
We basically, Jason said, take the lead, and I will go the other direction.
Yeah.
So we did that. We crossed around the back, and then we climbed back to the front, and you just see this like standoff felt so long in real life.
Yeah, I bet. You count the
because
moments.
Cobalt's there and I'm on like the left side and Ace is on the right side. We're both pointing at him, and you look at like John doing like this mental thing with Cobalt where like goes back and forth for a half second, like he's thinking. Then he ends up deciding to go for me. Then Ace gets around to the side, grabs him underneath his little piano keys, and it just set up this like awesome shot right in the back of the robot.
Yeah, right where the lights are, right where the power lights are for Cobalt, and it just completely shatters them and everything else in its way.
Well, that's seriously one of my little secrets. I like is wherever the power lights are is probably where all the electronics are.
Maybe
it's like a target.
Yeah.
What you're saying about your reverse lights?
Don't
no comment.
Smash the reverse lights.
Yeah.
Avoid reverse lights.
Well, the thing about I think if you hit the power light, it's usually right next to the switch.
There you go. Yeah, that's usually
Which
the
is
deal.
also a good way to just turn it off. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you hit, hit the switch or something, Cobalt's
Robot.
very small too, so it's like,
Yeah,
I was 3 inches deep in Cobalt. I'm going to hit something.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
it's very
Happen to be the
dense in
batteries.
that.
Yeah, I mean, you sure did find a spot to hit, and of all the
Mhm.
spots, that was the one. So with that, John's flurry and wins with Cobalt are over, and Jackpot makes the final tournament, makes the Golden Bolt
This
tournament.
is another robot who is like, I know the robots that have made the tournament bar Whiplash so far, and I'll come on to them in a second. So free shipping and Shredder Bro have never done particularly well and have finally got their chance to shine.
Yes.
Whiplash and Jackpot are two robots that usually do quite well, and this season had a rough old draw and didn't make it too far. And then they've shown what they can actually do in this tournament, and it's just, this year's Golden Bolt lineup is full of robots that are doing the business and either doing it finally or doing it as they should have done, or as designed, as it were.
We got rid of, we removed all of the suck over the course of 7 days.
Yeah.
7-day suck removal, the diet come to the BattleBots scene.
Anyway,
That's a floor posting meme.
For,
if there ever was one.
For sure.
For the podcast audience, Steve is throwing up at the minute.
You can get the suck removal just about anywhere in Vegas, honestly.
There you go.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, I was
And
gonna
on
say,
that note,
what a word from our resident plumber.
and on that bombshell,
In any case, we're moving on to our I guess I can just move on to the final slide and say, thank you, Jeff, for being with us. And we do have one more question.
you did make reference to it earlier.
Yeah, you did make reference to it earlier. Heavyweight off track when, says Charlie Hubbard on Discord.
Friend of the channel.
Yeah.
Probably not. It's off track's kind of dead. Off track's retired.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. His follow-up comment was, "Don't think we've forgotten."
Yeah.
I have Fast Track, which is like my 12-pound tracked robot, and it does things every once in a while. Like I just fought with it in Cali. I did 2 fights with it, and its tracks are hard, but it's a big, beater. It's got a lot of there's a lot going on there, and I just don't have enough time for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the main focus is Ruler and Jackpot, and honestly, the only reason I keep fighting with Red Rocket is just very simple. I'm pretty sure you've seen its clone, which is literally a clone. It's a Danger Cone up in the UK.
Yep.
The Danger Cone is just Red Rocket. It's just I gave Gus the files, and he ended up doing things with it and turned it into a cone themed robot, which is kind of funny. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess one final question before you go. You make the Golden Bolt tournament. I feel like this is, right to ask anybody at this point in the tournament. Knowing who is in the tournament right now, is there anybody specifically that you were worried about fighting? Someone you'd rather fight, or is it just all comers?
So there's someone that I really wanted to fight, and it's a bot that is Ace is basically designed to hard counter in his end game.
Yeah, definitely.
Endgame is known for sitting in the center and just, turning around and like that. But while he's pointing, that's opportune time for Ace to come in and get a grab.
Yeah. So if you're going to stay in the center, you might as well stay there.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll see if we end up doing that or not.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And once again, it's been great having you on again. And of course, anytime you want to drop by, it's been fun. We've had a lot of really nice conversations. I feel like we got a lot of good info in this couple hours we've had you.
Oh yeah, no, I'm always free up to do something. I think next time I'll be on something, you'll see a different background. I'll get a new place on the 3rd.
The move.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Best of luck. I know it's one of the top most stressful things you can do, but hopefully it's nice
alongside
nice
combat robots.
Yes. Well,
enjoy your Destructathon break.
Okay, so I just finished up with the Destructathon. I have Norwalk finals.
Yeah, that's true. That is coming.
And
yeah,
I'm moving.
Yeah,
you got to go and upset Luke some more.
You have to.
Oh, yeah.
It's the only way.
Yeah. If it's going to be the new meta, you got to make sure that you just drill it into him. Like, this is what's coming, like it or not.
Yeah, dump it all at once, and get over with. Might as well do it hardcore instead of like not at all.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, look forward to that. Look forward to your, hopefully Supreme Ruler makes a deep run at Norwalk. You never know. That'll be, that'll be coming. So with that, I guess we'll say goodbye. So for now, until next time, I'm Steve the American Killjoy.
I am World of Woodrow.
I've been David of Smeg.
And I've been Jeff Waters.
And we three at least will see you next time for the next episode of BattleBots Champions. We'll see you then.
It's my favorite episode.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to it, Jevin.
He's hyped. Right,
Yeah.
see ya.
Take care.